Hey guys, it's Brian here, and with me today we have Yvonne, the Director of Marketing at LeadPages. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's Friday at the time of recording, so can't complain.
Can't complain. And thank you so much for having me. Really, really appreciate it. And I'm excited for our chat today.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and I'm excited as well. So for the audience, what exactly is LeadPages, and what do you do as the Director of Marketing?
So LeadPages is currently a landing page builder, right? So you might have heard of us in the realms of like Unbounce is one of the players in our industry. So I just joined at the time of recording about 5 weeks ago, and I've kind of moved from a product marketing role to a full stack marketing role. And we have a very small but lean team that consists of a performance marketing manager, and then there's myself, and we're trying to basically create this holistic story on what lead pages and landing pages can do for your conversion optimization. And there's a whole bunch of new technology and stories coming through that I'm really excited to share as the year rolls out.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, I have used LeadPages very briefly before in the past. I have used some similar tools like a competitor, like ClickFunnels. So, in terms of, if you're to have like a billboard in Times Square just for 24 hours, for, let's say for yourself
Mm.
and for LeadPages, like what would it say?
Okay, for myself personally, I think okay, this comes from the context of just how marketing is right now, where we're kind of oversaturated with so many solutions to potentially a lot of problems that are either non-existent or they're not real problems. So for me, the personal rallying cry would be solve a real problem and everything else is noise. So that would be that personal billboard for me. And then for lead pages, I mean, I love that maybe I'm kind of like beta testing a story with you, but it could be like, how do you understand your conversion rates better? How do we optimize your conversion rates? Speak with us. So that's a bit of a, I guess, insight or a peek into what we're thinking through next.
Nice. Yeah, that's like a quick preview, basically. So people, if somebody was just like learning about LeadPages for the first time, that would be a good segue to kind of like, learn about what you guys do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we traditionally serve a lot of like solopreneurs and entrepreneurs who typically want to build their businesses. And then what do you need, right? You need landing pages where people can click on and then on after an ad and then they see what you have to offer, right? So now, we're building in a whole bunch of other functionality, which I would love to share right now, but unfortunately I can't. But we're going to build a lot more functionality that appeals to our SMB market and enable them to be able to see the entire purchase funnel, right? So we're saying, hey, when customers or prospects click on an ad, they're getting ads that are relevant to them. They've been optimized for them, and they're going to go click into a landing page experience that's been optimized for that persona as well, right? So there's a lot of intelligence that goes into that journey, into identifying the right customers who land in the page, and to make sure that you're really seeing the ROI on your ad spend. And I think that's something that's really important for all of us because even a solopreneur, entrepreneur level, I mean, we know enough to be dangerous, right? Like we know that we have to spend some money to get our words out, but always want to see that ROI. So that that issue is amplified, of course, in larger teams. So it's always about the end goal of what the platform can serve you, which is okay, so if I can give you the ease of attracting the right audiences, what is that ROI on that conversion? So that's kind of where we're going at.
Nice. ROI in marketing is so important.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it's hard to quantify. We do our best to, have analytics and track as many things as possible, but it's not always possible to have 100% accuracy all the time. So that's 100% a great point. So in terms of, I guess for you personally, what's your favorite marketing channel and why? And I don't know if that's the same as what's working well for lead pages, but just for you personally, let's start with that.
I like that it's a very thoughtful question because I can take it in my way when I think about channels. I'm not going to look at like your paid channels or whatnot. It's not that. I'm thinking more of how my background is in product marketing, which is ultimately it's the customer, right? So my favorite channel, if you will always be that live customer interviews and getting to hear directly from them. So sure, you have websites like G2, Trust Radius, and all of that. So I guess that could be considered as a type of channel. But what's really important is getting the unfiltered words from both the buyers and the users of your platform or your product or your service. That really tells you if your product's hitting, if your messaging's hitting.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. That's basically like a good piece of content to be used either for like partially organic or even for as partially for paid as well, right? So it's kind of like stemming from there and being able to use it across multiple mediums.
Yeah, yeah, you brought up a really good point there because I literally was just finishing a conversation with my performance marketing lead, and we were talking about how to improve our presence on LinkedIn. And depending on the watering holes or the channels where your buyers are at, like for example, that customer stories are really important, right? So on the other side of the coin, I like to listen to customer feedback, but I also want to turn that feedback into customer stories that legitimize us on platforms like LinkedIn because that's where people want. They don't want just that generic, X your ROI. They're like, okay, so what? But give me a proof point, right? Give me an example of an actual customer who has done that.
100%. That's awesome. Okay. So, how about your biggest marketing pet peeve? And what could make you cringe instantly? Because we've all seen like something that they shouldn't have done that or, oh, they shouldn't have said that. But what do you think would be your marketing pet peeve?
Can I give you two? Because they're
Yes.
kind of related.
Sounds good.
Okay, launch decks that are just about product features, zero positioning. And I guess in layman terms, it's like you're getting a product spec sheet, but you're not getting the storytelling behind it. You're not getting the why, the so what of why this is important to me. And then on the flip side, fluff, right? I think the cringe factor is a lot of people are very, very smart these days. A lot of buyers are smart. They can smell through whatever nonsense you have, especially if it's just this big story and they go, okay, but give me the proof that you have the features to support it. So they are two sides of the same coin, really. You got to have that ability to tell a very good story, but also have a product and or service to back it up.
Love that. Okay. What's one marketing strategy or tactic that's worked exceptionally well for you guys at LeadPages so far?
So at LeadPages, and bearing in mind at the time of recording, I've only been here for 5 weeks, but I do know that what we've been very good at is being very close to our customers. So we've had a lot of customer input on how the product should behave and how the interface needs to be intuitive for them. And now that we're trying to appeal to a broader audience in the SME market, it's also really important that we continue staying very, very close with our customers. So I'm really excited for the chance to work with our product folks to speak with customers and get those validation calls in and go, hey, how are you liking our product? How's that working out? And it's something that I think a lot of us can tend to forget, right? Because we get caught up in the excitement of building a new product or the excitement of working internally with our stakeholders. But ultimately, can any one of us kind of put on like a customer support or customer success hat and go, I just want to chat with a customer or a buyer and see why they like us or why they don't like us.
Yeah, 100%. So far from our conversation, you guys are very customer focused, which is good because I think a lot of companies they say that they are, but they don't really dive deep into customer stories and all that stuff. So that's definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see it in a lot of different companies as well, right? Like the ones that care about their customers, their UI makes sense. It's intuitive. The experience is intuitive. If they're unhappy, they do their best to make it work for the customers. And so far, that's what I've seen here. We've got an amazing customer support team that does that. At the end of the day, look after the ones who pay the bills.
Now, since you mentioned that you've been at LeadPages for about 5 weeks at the time of recording, how about like for your previous roles or projects, like what has been your favorite or most effective marketing campaign?
So I think when it comes to marketing campaigns and marketing strategy, it's respecting the fact that it takes a lot of people internally to come up with an idea and with a concept. We all know that we move from strategy to execution, and then there are stakeholders along the way. And growing up in my career and having the privilege to work at companies like LinkedIn and then back in Singapore, like Singapore Telecommunications, I really got to understand the power of working with folks properly. So some of the best marketing leaders in those companies that I named, they are happy to bring in the right people and learn from them and then go, okay, out of this plan, what works, what doesn't work, and welcome in these ideas. So I know it's a very general sounding kind of thing, but ultimately, when you have leaders or people who are able to bring others together and have a very firm scope of what that project is, but also enable them to contribute effectively, I found that to be the reasons why any marketing campaign or tactic would work out. Right. One of LinkedIn's values was like, the whole relationships matter and act like an owner. And I actually really believe in that human side of work. It's very easy to say this is my favorite campaign or my favorite tactic, but really like what goes behind its success and its execution? It's the people, right? And who you work with and how you learn from these people.
No, I love that answer. We all say it's a team that kind of, if you want to go far, you need a good team to be able to do it. So, that's really ingraining that identity into your work. And even from chatting with you, even beforehand, I know that you care about the human element, which is very important because people forget that, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is tough, right? In today's times where, everybody's kind of going, well, really now what do I do at work? And the only thing I can say is I've been very grateful to kind of grow up and work with people who have either like mentored me or they've taught me so much in their field that it enables me to be good enough when I look at like, things in general when it comes to marketing as well. So I think that as marketers and as people in tech, like it is our job to try and uplift each other and recognize that what goes into marketing isn't just like the creatives or the aesthetics, right? Or like messaging and positioning. It's everything. And being able to identify those people in the company to go to market together. And that's why you've this go to market motion is so, so important.
Awesome. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. What's a common marketing mistake that you see marketers or marketing teams make, and how do you think they can avoid it?
So I think as marketers, we love talking about things like your target addressable market or your ICP, right? Your ideal customer persona. And I think that I've seen a lot of examples of marketers who don't nail that down formally, right? They might kind of like talk about it, but it's not formally enabled across the organization. And then you kind of start your go-to-market motion and chase like shiny channels. So my take would be formalize your ICP, know exactly who you're going after, enable and share that information across your team, however big or small, and then go for it instead of just scaling fog, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in terms of a marketing tool, we've used a lot of marketing tools on a day-to-day basis. Is there one that you cannot live without? And how about on the flip side, is there one that you think is a little overhyped or people use a lot too often or it doesn't have any actual tangible benefit?
So I'm gonna stay consistent with what I said about customers, right? Because I always one of the first things I try to do even when I join a new place or is just can I talk to the customer or can I like access customer interviews and all that. That tool, having access to customer feedback, whether it's like a simple recording or like your CSAT scores and then like an empty Google Docs to like get your notes in, 100% probably one of the most underrated tools to use. On the flip side, and I think it's not really overused, but more of like, do we know how to use it really well? Because AI is like the talk of the town right now, right? We all use it, but I wonder if any of us are smart enough to know the prompts, and how to use it and how to use it to improve our work instead of like using it wholesale. So I think the AI conversation would be something that's interesting to see how this evolves over time. So yeah, less of an overuse, overhype, but more like, do we know how to use it well for our use cases?
For sure. I use AI on a daily basis as well.
Mm.
And prompt engineering is definitely something that we'll have to continuously learn and improve on because once you learn how it works, it might be easy to replicate, but then it's like, oh, it's a new tool. They might react to a prompt differently. You kind of have to change the way that you prompt things, right? So 100%. And I think that's a good segue into if AI could do one part of your job
Mhm.
perfectly, what would you happily hand off?
I would love the AI to be super accurate when it comes to like looking at my customer transcripts. Because let's admit it, right? Like before, this explosion of let's upload a transcript and then get like summary, I know that I would be listening at work to hours of Google, like recorded Google meetings and transcripts and trying to like identify like the keywords and stuff. It's a manual job, right? But I would love to be able to get all of that and tag specific themes from the feedback, like whether it's a product thing or a price thing or, whatever it may be, and then go, okay, and then weigh out what are the most like pressing factors. So if I could get like that kind of close loss analysis, customer feedback super quick, I would love that.
Yeah, AI can still have a lot of errors. Like I would do the same thing. I put in numbers into ChatGPT or information, and I go through it manually, and it still gets things wrong. And I'm like, oh, well, what's the point of me doing that if it was going to be wrong to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why we all know like to obviously double check our work, which clearly you do as well, because that's how you identify where it's wrong. I think definitely, just help me minimize the amount of manual work that I have to do to in order to get insights. So I will derive the insights, but just summarize that for me accurately. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So, how about would you trust an AI process or tool to kind of run your next campaign entirely or more than 50%? Like, why or why not?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I'm not an expert when it comes to marketing automation, like AI tools. I'm not, but I see a lot of thought leaders and a lot of people out there who are saying, hey, I'm a single marketer and here I am with like 40 marketing agents, or I've automated my entire life cycle journey or my customer nurture journey with AI. And I think that's pretty smart, like especially when you know what triggers to press in. So absolutely. And I think as long as I were to stay on top of that and see how it goes and have enough confidence that, it's moving along well, sure, why not? Ultimately, any tool, whether it's AI or not, right? Even like pre-AI, when we talk about like SaaS tools, it's all about optimizing your time. So how do we reduce manual work that we know can be automated with very little to no error so that it focuses you to do like other things that are more productive? So 100%, I think so.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. I think if it's like a year or two ago when it was just kind of starting out, people and marketers specifically are less likely to be open to it. But you see how things are going nowadays, you can't say no to it. And like you said earlier, we all use it to some extent. It's
Mhm.
not going anywhere, so might as well accept it sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, what I would love as well is I think we all understand the very basics of large language models and AI use cases, right? And we know that a lot of it is, well, it's also based on our collective sort of human knowledge. So I think that it's really interesting that now we've got this machine that's collecting the breadth and depth of human knowledge. A really interesting challenge for us now as marketers and people who are working is what are the new things and that can feed back new information again into the AI. So I'd be curious to see what other new ideas marketers would have when it comes to marketing campaigns or like creating solutions for problems that like real problems that we probably haven't even seen yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, last question, and that is if you were to give other marketers one piece of advice, what would it be?
Start with what matters most to the customer, right? I call it their sleepless night problem. And then just cut away anything that doesn't ease it. That's how you stay laser focused. That's how you try to reduce that kind of scope creep. And that's how you know that you're actually solving for a real problem.
Nice, nice and simple.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So let's conclude with this. What's the best way for the audience to reach you and to connect?
LinkedIn is the best place. We all have our LinkedIn handles. So I'm linkedin.com/in/. Yvonne Chow. And I will happily respond to any emails there. That's probably the best.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll put all that information around the video somewhere here. But it was a pleasure chatting with you, Yvonne, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for listening and watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.